programs that were supposed to originally be set aside for Alaskan Natives. However, what you have is you have a lot of other individuals and a lot of other companies coming in and partnering with Alaska Native corporations and taking the lion's share of the money.
Well, this is a pretty significant thing for the Small Business Administration to do. It's the first review of its kind in several decades. You know, up until now, they'd only made inflationary changes to that ceiling, but this is the first time they've made an active step to increase it substantially. And the agency expects the proposed changes to make as many as 9,500 more companies eligible for the SBA programs. So it's significant. Well, all this talk of finance and corruption and red tape and inflation, folks, I don't know if you've read this or if you heard this in the news the last couple of days, but 4 out of 10 are the proportion of American millionaires who say they do not feel rich. These are the people that actually have $1 million in net worth. They say they do not feel rich, 4 out of 10 of them, according to a survey by Fidelity Investments. But this is what's funny. If you ask them what they would need to feel like a millionaire or to feel rich, they all came back with $7.5 million. They would need at least $7.5 million to feel truly wealthy. I mean, you tell that to the people who live in other countries or in other nations where every day is a struggle and they live on $2 a day or just a couple dollars a day. And it's shocking. You understand the disparity that exists between certain parts of the world and the United States. I mean, if as millionaires, true millionaires, we don't feel rich.
Well, Asa, I came across another interesting story. Did you know that India is now the world's largest importer of arms?
No, I did not. I would not have guessed that.
I would have never imagined that. But India is actually modernizing its military, and it's buying arms gangbusters from other countries, buying fighter jets, modernizing tanks, aircraft, warships, you name it.
I can buy the whole modernizing the military. I don't know how many years have gone by since the Indian Army, Indian Armed Forces really have done that. But with all of the skirmishes that are happening around India being where it sits in the region of the world, it's not entirely surprising, but I didn't think that we would be the largest consumer. I thought we might just be beefing up our armed forces, but the largest arms importer implies that we're somehow bracing ourselves against something to come.
Well, actually, that's very true. India finds itself sitting with China up here and with Pakistan over here, and they feel vulnerable. And they have all this cash. The economy's booming, and countries are lining up to sell arms there. You've got Russia, who's the major supplier there. They have been for years. France is now in line here to make some money. The UK and the US.
I'm surprised the US doesn't figure into that as much.
The US does. I think there's some deals in the works with the US, but these other countries are really reaping the benefits of this.
Folks, a few weeks ago, the USS Decatur, which is a warship, reached the coast of India in Chennai. But here's the best part of this story. It was led by Commander Shanti Sethi, who is an Indian-American female. She is the first female commander of a U.S. naval vessel to visit India. How about that? She is a ranking officer in the U.S. Naval Academy, and she's been serving the U.S. Navy since 1994 when she took over the command of the USS Decatur in 2010. Now, here's what's funny, is that she leads a mostly male crew. But she has a great camaraderie with them, and she's come a long way. Her skills have been noted. She's served that whole Arabian Sea region for many years now, so she was a natural for being in this region. But I just thought it was great to see not just an Indian American leading the ship, but a woman. How about that?
Well, Asa, you know, the whole concept of the Indian restaurant continues to evolve. And I've got my favorites here in town. I love going to Rasika, Indique Heights, Spice Crossing, in Rockville, which is a new one, which is fabulous. Go out and try it. But it's long been one of the staples in England as well. Actually, Indian restaurants in England outnumber all other types of ethnic restaurants in England at this point.
It's the slow takeover.
Yeah, and it's actually created a food war that's brewing between chefs that are outside of India and chefs that are within India, the most popular chefs.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not. And they're openly criticizing one another. Food critics have gotten involved in this. One of the most popular food critics in India has said that Indian food cannot evolve with foreign influence. But you've got the chefs outside of India that are creating all of these new culinary delights, which kind of are fusion concepts. They meld Indian food with with French influence or American
So
influence.
it's a great
or
divide
Italian.
between being authentic versus trying out new recipes for people who are really more broad-minded.
Right. And I guess that just shows how we are just continuing to evolve.
To me, this is like a conflict that exists on many fronts. It's a conflict between new and old. It's a conflict between authentic India versus outside of India. It's probably also a conflict between old and new. Old generation who prefers things their well understood way, whereas the new generation is trying and experimenting new things. It's almost as if art is mimicking life here in this case. You know, anytime you expand beyond a country, you're going to introduce new influences and go more places with your food and its cuisine. I think it's inevitable, but it is kind of interesting that this is like personal. People are taking this personally.
It's very personal. I mean, they're exchanging quips in the press and put downs of one another and their ways of cooking and their approach to food.
Well, I did read a wonderful article here. If you've been watching the show, then you know that in Washington, D.C., we've had a festival here the last several weeks called Maximum India. And, of course, one of the star attractions was the head chef, Hemant Oberoi, who came here to try to showcase some of his talents and to let people eat and sample some of his foods. Well, NPR did a wonderful story on him about how he's bringing back some of these very authentic traditional recipes that have basically gone out of style. They're not basically in the main circuit anymore. And one of his recipes, called chicken atta, which was like street food in Punjab, suddenly has become all the rage in India. Now you can buy this dish everywhere. So it goes to show you the power of food and the power of someone who's bringing back something that used to exist and how you can make it new again and make it popular again. And folks, if food is your thing, then this is something you definitely would like to attend. This is world-renowned master chef Sanjeev Kapoor, who is coming right here to the Washington, D.C. area to Indique Heights. He'll be here at 7 p.m. on Friday, April 1st. You can attend his book launch and dinner party by visiting website sanjeevkapoor-indiqueheights.eventbrite.com. It should be a lot of fun.
2 Indian jewelers in New York were recently convicted of staging a heist in their jewelry store in order to get insurance proceeds.
It seems like such an old trick.
And the way these guys did it, it's just hilarious. What they did was they thought they disabled the recording equipment in their jewelry store by pouring drain cleaner inside the equipment.
Why not just tape the lens? You think that would be simpler, right?
I guess they figured this drain cleaner, it cleans everything else, so, it'll clean up our video, too. Unfortunately for them, it didn't work completely. It ended up destroying the machine, which that was the intended consequence. But in the process